As Mayor Amschel Rothschild said, "I care not which puppet sits upon the throne of England. The man who controls England is the man who controls the money supply, and I control the money supply." And these are words to give careful consideration to, folks, because the human race really does need to wake up to how much it's being scammed by a small money cartel. And you see, folks, this is why non-compliance is so important. When you understand how this system works, when you really step back and look at it, it's absolutely ridiculous that people go along with it. As Andrew Jackson said, if people ever understood the rank injustice of the banking and monetary system, there'd be a revolution before morning. And we don't need a revolution, we need an evolution of consciousness. We need people to change their way of thinking. We need people to understand these issues and simply stop complying with it. You see, when I talk about how corrupt this system is and the need to change it, you've got to understand I'm not talking about bringing down governments. I'm not interested in overthrowing any governments. I'm simply interested in instituting honest government. I mean, obviously we need some form of government. We need some group of elders, some council, something that's going to look after infrastructure and make sure we've got roads and make sure the rubbish is picked up and the trains run on time. But we don't need people in government who insist on allowing the population to be enslaved to this ridiculous monetary system. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. Folks, if we took the interest off money, if we mandated that our governments implemented a honest monetary system and the government produced money rather than borrowing it from the Reserve Bank, and they distributed this money to the population interest-free, then things would cost about 1/18 of what they do now. You could go back to having a family life where dad works and mum stays home and looks after the kids, and you'd have more than enough money to get by. In fact, you could have one parent working a 3 or 4 day week and still have enough money to buy a house and to get by quite comfortably if you took the interest off money. And governments coined money and controlled its value themselves, as they have the legal right to do. But they don't do that. They borrow it from a private bank. So if you've ever had any doubt about who these politicians actually work for, folks, well, that action alone speaks volumes. Now, I talk about all of these sorts of things on the radio show. I talk about the corrupt monetary system and these corrupt politicians and all of the things that are going on in the world. But I do it not to instill fear within people or to incite anger. The reason I do it is because I wish for people to see the opportunity that having this knowledge provides for them. Because even knowing what's going on with the banking system, once you know what's going on, it then becomes an opportunity for you to free yourselves from the clutches of this system. I mean, let's face it, folks, once you actually know how it works, why on earth would anyone want to participate in such a system? It's just completely ridiculous. And so with that in mind, I feel that it's very important for people to become aware of this information. I think it's very important for people to understand the realities of the war on terror. I mean, simply to gain an understanding of how the world is actually run. I think it's important for people to understand how the world's run because that knowledge provides you with the opportunity to fix the problem. And the way to fix it is to simply stop complying with it. No violence, no guns, no riots. We don't need any of those things. All we need is non-compliance. And as I've often said, the best way to stop complying with the system is to follow the one law, to do what's right, do the right thing in all that you do, help your neighbours, do the right thing, help the lives of those around you. I mean, it just sounds too simple for most people, and then there's others that might think, oh, well, this guy's just saying that if you just become a good Samaritan, you're going to change the world. But it's not like that, folks. It's understanding the symbiotic relationship that we all have with each other and understanding that there is no division amongst any of us. It's only our societies that have trained us to feel divided, and if we can put away that division and start helping our community, start helping everybody around us, then the whole system breaks down, because the whole system is designed to train people to do the opposite. So you've got to ask yourself why. If the system has been constructed in such a way as to create massive division among people, then obviously the best way to escape from the system is to create unity among the people, because this is exactly the opposite of what the system wants people to do. And when you begin to understand the power of unity, the power of common unity in community, then it becomes very apparent why they would seek to divide the people. Divide and conquer is the motto, after all. I mean, I know that I go on about this all the time, folks, but I do it because the way to fix the world is so simple. It just beggars belief that we haven't done it already. Though, of course, the reason we haven't is due to what we've been led to believe reality is. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people within our societies have been heavily indoctrinated by the education system and are very set within their belief system. And many people simply can't see the matrix that is modern society. The fictitious, illusional, paper-based world that most people live within. It's a very strange thing to see. Of course, once you are awake to how the world is run, it becomes very difficult to ever go back to sleep again, especially when, as I said, the way to fix all of the world's problems becomes so simple. Once you're awake to what the problems are and what the obstacles are to addressing these issues. And folks, what the problem is division, and what the obstacle is to addressing that division is fear. It's the division within our society that allows individuals within our society to be terrorized. It's this division that allows raw food stores to be raided by police, that allows organic cheese farmers to have their livelihood confiscated from them because it doesn't meet with FDA approval. And breaking down division and finding common unity in community would alleviate all of these problems. Because when the community saw someone being terrorized by the police, then they would stand up and they would help the person and they would neutralize the situation. And in fact, in a truly united community, we wouldn't see police acting in this way to begin with. Breaking down the fear and division in community would also help the community stand up against the actions of corrupt politicians. When legislation is enacted that interferes with the rights of the people or oppresses the people in any way or damages the environment in any way, the people could stand up and, again, neutralize the situation. This never happens because of the division within society, and society continues to remain divided because the people that live within society have been trained to live in fear of both themselves and of the people around them. And it looks like it's break time here, folks, so I'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much for spending this time with me today, and I'll speak to you again in a few minutes. Thanks for listening. Welcome back, folks. Now, when you can get your head around everything that I've told you in the first half of the show regarding the money changes, it becomes very apparent how important it is that this situation is addressed, how important it is that we change this system. And as I said, there is no need to overthrow governments or anything like that. We just need to tidy them up a little bit. We need to hold the people within government accountable for their actions. For example, we need to be very wary of politicians who enact laws that protect themselves from prosecution, as we often see happening. There is no reason why a president should not be arrested. There is no reason why a prime minister should not be arrested. If these people have done the wrong thing, then they've done the wrong thing. It's as simple as that. There shouldn't be any sort of special protections for these people. And I'm not saying that I wish to arrest any politicians. I mean, I prefer to just give them a slap on the wrist and tell them to go and live in the suburbs and live on an interest-based minimum wage for a while and see how they like it. I don't wish to harm them. I don't wish to harm people like the Rothschild family, even though they have the blood of quite literally millions of people on their hands. I still believe that all of these people can be saved. I don't wish to harm anybody. It'd be nice to see them wake up to reality a little bit, or at least just stop living their lives at the expense of everybody else. But there's no reason to harm them as a means of accomplishing this. What's really needed is for people to understand that the only way that families such as the Rothschilds get away with what they do is because we go along with it. And then again, in understanding that, you can't blame the people for going along with it. You've got to understand that it's simply what humanity has been trained to do, mainly via control of the education system and via manipulation of the media. I mean, obviously, if you can control what people are taught through the scholastic system, and you can control what information they receive through control of the media, then you've got the game sewn up, especially if you also control the money supply, and via control of the money supply, you also control most of the world's governments. It's quite a simple system, actually, folks, when you really look at it. You control those three things. You control money, education, and media, and that's it. You control all the finances of the world, so you control all commerce, you control what people are taught, and you control all the information that they receive. In fact, folks, it's frighteningly simple how easy it is to control the world. But now people are beginning to wake up that this system of control does exist, how easy it is for the elite to maintain this system of control, and how easy it would be for humanity to free itself from this corrupt system. And that's a great thing to see because, as I've often said, this really is a time of wonderful opportunity for humanity. Because, folks, simply because this system of control is becoming so visible to the masses, this now gives humanity the greatest opportunity for real freedom that we have ever had collectively offered to us. The world is small now. All countries can talk to each other via the internet. I can be sitting here on my computer talking to people in every country in the world all at the same time. And once we do this, it starts to become painfully obvious that there is no division amongst us, that all the divisions are created by governments and those who control the governments, and that all of them are illusionary, all of them are fictional. It's just been one big banker-controlled scam that's been going on for an extremely long time, and it's been engineered right from the very start to keep the world and the people within the world divided, and thereby conquer both the world and its people. And it's a very simple system, folks, when you understand the three factors that are needed to run the system. It's not as complicated as everybody thinks. There's just all of these other little subgroups in place, like Parliament, like the Senate, like people passing paper around to each other all day, which make it appear to be complex, but ultimately it's not a complex system at all, because you only really have to control three factors of society. You see, that's it, folks. Just control those three things. As I've often said, the money system is the head of the snake. The money system keeps people running around chasing this stuff all the time, so they don't really get to scrutinize what the media is telling them. They don't really get to scrutinize what their children are being taught, and the money itself is something that people simply seem to take for granted.